One of the things I remember about my childhood is that it came as a shock to learn that anyone at all cared about my city. A shock that grew into reverential awe. San Antonio seemed then to be a surprisingly large and tangled web on road maps, and appeared as an unassuming dot on others, often beside a small pictogram of the Alamo. The Alamo. India has the Taj Mahal, England has Big Ben, and Texas has a small ruin of an old Spanish church. Except Englishmen rarely shed a tear for having seen Big Ben. The Alamo is, in its own way, one of the finest war memorials on earth. Unlike most of the others, it was actually fought over, and is now a tomb to some of our greatest heroes. And Texans, remembering them, wherever they are, always seem to know which way to turn to face the Alamo. But San Antonians, perhaps because of the proximity, have difficulty doing the same. Each of us has our own points on the web, places we return to time and again to make our own San Antonio. For some, it's the green calmness of Breckenridge Park. For others, the high red dome of Temple Bethel. For still others, it may be the quirky and never-boring library on Soledad, or the beer factory turned world-class art museum on Jones Street. But for me, it's a low, round cement bench beside the bus loop at Rudder Middle School on Abe Lincoln. When I was a kid, my mother worked in the schools on the west side, an hour's commute some days. And so she woke us up very early and dropped us off at school when the windows in the rest of the houses were still agonizingly dark. And I would watch the world turn light over the low trees in front of me when it was morning. I quietly enjoyed being an observer of suburban life, of that place in the tangled web of San Antonio where the lines were drawn looser apart. But I knew there was something else, something quick and exciting at the heart of the web. Our church was on West Ashby Street, just down the street from Bethel and San Antonio College, perched right above San Pedro Park. And I spent a lot of time there too, waiting for my mom to get out of some evening function, sitting on the front steps and peering across the park at the city. And there, before me, was San Antonio itself. And somewhere in the tightness of that web was the color and blur and music that I knew made it famous among the cities of the world. But then, it wasn't a city of the world. And as I watched the little elevator go up and down on the Tower of the Americas, and the roof of the transit tower glow in iridescent green, I knew, watching, that was my city. I don't live there anymore. I now live very close to the place where Davy Crockett's wife settled down and started a farm to make her living in the Texas that her husband had fought and died for. She's buried nearby, beneath a fine stone monument that stands as the smallest state park in Texas. And when I pass that place, as I pass it often, I always remember that her husband is buried somewhere else. Somewhere in that little ruin of an old Spanish church, back home in San Antonio.